I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, American Patriots, and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and ring the bell. Breaking news tonight as I was about to go live. Go ahead and share that and get that out of the way. NFL Hall of Fame coach, who also later became an NFL broadcaster, John Madden, has passed away at the age of 85. Also, former Democrat Senator Harry Reid has passed away. He was 82 years old. In tonight's leadoff story, I want to share, I guess, a little bit of proof on something that I have talked about in the past, leading up to the election, as well as I've mentioned it several times since the election, and that is what happens when Democrats take control of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and the House and the Senate. I've explained in the past that I was born and raised a Democrat here in the Deep South. And after joining the military in 1985, I came to the realization that every time a Democrat was in office and Democrats were in charge of Congress, we did not have what we needed to conduct our missions. On top of that, that's the first place the Democrats go to cut the budget in order to fill the gap and pay for all their socialist spending, all the extra benefits that people get, such as illegal aliens, for instance. They go to the military and they cut that budget. I've served under Democrats and I've served under Republicans from 1985 to 2004. And I've watched this happen time and time again. It's nothing new, although it may be new to some of you, especially if you're maybe just tuning in or haven't watched my show in the past. So they finally did it. They have decided that they're going to go into the military budget. And here is exactly how they're going to do it. And this is shameful. It really is. And, you know, it shouldn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. You should see this as a danger. You should see it as a slap in the face to our American forces. The Department of Defense announced that they're cutting the cost of living allowance for our military troops in 15 metropolitan areas, 21 non-metropolitan counties in the continental United States. And this will happen starting January 1st. Now, let me explain cost of living allowance for you if you didn't serve in the military. Everyone gets it. It depends on where you're at as to what you're going to get and how much you're going to get. If, let's say, you're stationed at Fort Polk, Louisiana, you're probably going to get zero or just a couple of bucks. But if you're stationed in some place like San Francisco, California, where the cost of living is outrageous, you can't live comfortably at all on military salary. So that's where this cost of living comes into effect. And it goes according to if you're single, or if you're married, if you have kids, and it fluctuates with that and the area that you're stationed in. This really affects recruiters the most, especially in areas like New York City, San Francisco, as I mentioned, LA. Pick any place where the cost of living is very, very high, and there you have it. So, starts January 1st. The change will lead to affect approximately 48,000 troops. And this was announced in the Stars and Stripes, not CNN, not your mainstream media. Stars and Stripes, which is a magazine paper for military personnel. Approximately 6,000 service members will remain recipients of the $8.5 million that the Pentagon allotted for this COLA, which is given to troops who are stationed in excessively expensive locations in the lower 48. The 2022 list comprises 20 non-metropolitan counties and 6 metropolitan areas, which include, this is great, New York City, Long Island, Staten Island in New York, Nantucket, Massachusetts, Boulder, Colorado, and San Francisco, California. Places that the cost of living is outrageous. So if you're stationed there, and for the most part, we're talking about recruiters again, you just got screwed by the Democrat Party. And I'm very sorry that this happened. The cost of living rate is based on information gathered on analysts, cost of transportation, goods and services, federal income taxes, sales taxes, miscellaneous expenses, according to the Department of Defense. A location becomes eligible for cost of living allowance when non-housing costs exceed 8% of the national average. Among locations that were cut in 2022 is Washington, D.C. Oh, wow. Pretty cheap to live there, right? Wrong. Where troops received a 1% supplement in 2021. Cost of living for troops in Boston and Washer, Massachusetts also got axed. Troops located in New York City will receive the highest of the COLA at 6%, which is down from 7% last year. How much COLA each service member earns depends again on the location they're stationed at, their pay grade, years of service, and dependency status. So there it is. For all you Democrats that spoke out against me when I talked about this in the past, that Democrats aren't going to cut the budget, Democrats care about the troops. There it is, folks. War's over with. We've come back from Iraq. We've come back from Afghanistan. That's saving billions of dollars. So now we're going to go after cost of living allowance. That is pathetic. We're going to talk briefly about COVID-19. And the last times I talked about this, I got a strike against this channel. So whoever the person is at YouTube that's going to watch this video and determine if I'm a liar or not, go check the Department of Defense press briefing, because that's what I'm reading from. The United States Department of Defense released the following information. U.S. service members will be highly encouraged to get booster shots, but it will not be mandatory. All Department of Defense personnel are strongly encouraged to receive the boosters to protect themselves against COVID-19, reads guidance released by the Department of Defense today. Individuals 18 years of age and older who completed a primary vaccination series with an mRNA vaccine, at least in the last 6 months. Also, those that received the Johnson & Johnson shot at least 2 months ago are eligible for booster dose. While booster shots are only being encouraged, initial vaccinations will still be required for all service members. So you're not getting out of getting the shot. The news comes after the Pentagon said earlier this month that they were active discussions within the Department of Defense about requiring vaccine boosters for the troops, with Pentagon spokesman John Kirby saying that the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, absolutely encourages people in the military, if they qualify, to get the booster. The Pentagon announced in August that it would start requiring COVID-19 vaccinations for all members of the military, including those in the reserves and the National Guard. And as I reported on in the past, the National Guard in some states have stepped up and are fighting back against the Pentagon, saying that we're not going to make it a requirement. More to come with that. The deadline for service members to comply with the requirement has since passed. Roughly 35,000 members of the Army, Marines, Air Force, Space Force, and the Navy still have not complied with the original order to get their first shot. The Secretary has made it clear that this is a lawful order to receive this vaccine. Kirby said in his press briefing, it's mandatory. Over 96% of service members have complied with the order, but Kirby stressed the need to get every member of the military vaccinated. The Secretary's expectation is 100% vaccination. That's what he wants to see, according to Kirby. That is directly from the Department of Defense press briefing today. It isn't something that Douglas Ducote made up. It isn't fake news. It isn't spreading medical misinformation, as I was labeled the last time. It is directly from the Department of Defense. It's factual information, YouTube. Female inmates in California prisons are seeking relief after a new California law allows biological men to be housed at women's detention centers in the states based on their gender identity. Think about that for a moment. If you're going to prison and you're a guy and you identify as a woman, you get to go to the women's prison. Can you see any problems with this? Oh, wait, let me share the problems with you. Because many inmates, females in the California prison system, have reached out and said in a letter that was sent out, so we want to know if you can possibly send a copy of the policies and procedures for the screening processes of these men coming here. They're getting caught having sex already. Yesterday, a girl was giving a man a BJ in the main yard. WTF, this is not safe for us. The law, SB 132, is designed to allow prisoners being admitted to prison according to the sex they want to live rather than their biological sex, resulting in men living with women and even some women living with men. The bill will require the Corrections Department for a person who is a transgender, non-binary, or intersex to only conduct a search of that person according to the search policy for their gender identity or according to the gender designation of the facility where they are housed based on the individual's search preference. The bill would additionally require the department to house the person in a correctional facility designed for men or women based on the individual's preference, except as specified. The San Francisco Chronicle has been reporting on how the new law is being implemented, including promoting the idea that trans women, not the real women, face danger in prison. The Chronicle reported that more than 250 people, the vast majority of whom are trans women, are waiting to be transferred to their preferred prison. Only in California. Couldn't make this shit up if you tried, could you? I have been very open about how I feel with those that interpret any religion in a radical way. I've made no bones about that. And I've also explained in grave detail what I see coming down the chain soon here in America. And, it's already happened in France. I'm sure it's already happened here. It's just you're not hearing about it yet because it's not politically correct. What am I talking about? A mosque in northern France has been shut down after the government determined that the place of worship was inciting hatred against Christians and Jews, as well as gay people. Interior Minister Jared Darmanin announced earlier this month that his administration was in the process of shutting down the mosque. The mosque was accused of hosting a regular speaker that pushed its members towards violent radicalization, according to Euronews. Darmanin claimed that the mosque speaker was presented as an occasional speaker, but who in reality acts as a regular imam in that mosque. He reportedly made comments to those at the mosque, glorifying jihad and the fighters, whom he described as heroes. A lawyer for the mosque told the journalist that the NGO would be filing a countermeasure with the courts within 48 hours. The organization defended the attendance and preaching of the unnamed imam at the center of the investigation, with their lawyers dismissing certain remarks made during preaching by one of the mosque imams, who has since been suspended. Well, that's good to know. Who was speaking on a voluntary basis. Darmanin said a point man for dozens of investigations into reportedly radical mosques are happening all across France. The minister previously stated that 99 mosques have so far been controlled for advocating dangerous or violent ideology. Of these 99 mosques, 21 France has shut down, and 6 are currently in the process of being closed. Darmanin reported earlier in December, according to Euronews. We also found that 36 of the mosques have accepted the demands of the Republic, either to leave a particular federation or to separate from the imam who was considered dangerous, or to stop foreign funding, or unfortunately to combine these provisions. And so we removed them from the list. The Daily Mail reported that earlier this year, the French government announced it was cracking down on places across worship, and groups suspected of pushing radical Islam propaganda. The Interior Ministry revealed earlier this month that they have investigated 100 mosques and Muslim prayer halls in recent months out of more than 2,600 across France due to fears of separate ideology being spread across the country. The U.S. Treasury issued 3 new general licenses that will allow certain types of financial transactions with the Taliban, who have been largely shut out of the international financial system by American sanctions aimed at stopping terrorism and human rights abuse. Treasury has provided broad authorization that ensure NGOs, international organizations, and the U.S. government can continue to provide relief to those in need. Deputy Secretary of Treasury Wally Adeyemo said, the new actions come as Afghanistan faces an extreme humanitarian crisis, with more than half of the population facing severe hunger as winter is set to grip the country. Now, let's talk for a second about what this administration has done. They are now, well, besides the fact that we surrendered to those that attacked us on 9/11, besides the fact that we left billions of dollars in military aid to them, they're now going to have our State Department work with the Taliban to provide humanitarian aid to the people of Afghanistan. Now, hey, look, I'm 100% for that. If you monitor it and make sure that it's going to the people of Afghanistan that are dying of hunger, that need fresh, clean water, food, medical supplies, all the things that we supply in aid packages. But I assure you, if you do not monitor that, it will only go to the terrorist. And therefore, well, the people themselves will suffer. And folks, it's not good. It's not good when you have a situation like this. And to top it off, just imagine for 1 minute if we did in America what they're doing in France right now to protect their people from a certain death. Think about that. We'd be called racist and bigots and Islamophobia. They would just be going absolutely batshit crazy if we did what France is doing. It's not nice, folks. It's not good. This is definitely not a good situation to be in. And we have more and more, as we have brought over from Middle Eastern countries, many people, especially out of Afghanistan, that were not properly vetted. And we know that. Yet, they're filtering into our society. Chicago. Seems like every story I talk about has something to do with Chicago. Chicago 911 dispatcher warned today, he was on Fox and Friends on Fox News, that citywide staffing shortages are making violent crime worse, knocking local government and leadership for their inability to keep citizens safe. All hell has broken loose, Keith Thornton told Fox and Friends. Enterprise reporter Lawrence Jones. Thornton said that a massive amount of crime is taking place in the city at all hours of the day, while first responders are being overworked and receiving no support from lawmakers and politicians. What's horrible is the lack of leadership and the failure of leadership throughout the entire city of Chicago. And it's ridiculous because it does not have to be this way, said Thornton. Thornton added that the Chicago police, fire department, dispatchers, and other first responders are being micromanaged by Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The blood, in my opinion, is on her hands, Thornton said. The Chicago dispatcher added that under the Trump administration, federal help was neither acknowledged nor wanted by the mayor. This is not a black problem, a white problem, a Democrat or a Republican problem, a Latino problem. This is an all hands on deck problem, and everyone within Chicago should be fueled up. And that's why I'm taking a stand, said Thornton. In a separate interview appearance earlier today on Fox and Friends, Thornton added that crime is out of control and that city leadership is lying to the citizens of Chicago about crime and policing, which he called the worst it's ever been. In a recent viral video on Facebook, Thornton called the city a death zone, where police are scared to go, on patrol by themselves. When you say Chicago, people are afraid, said Thornton. Over this past Christmas weekend, between Friday and Sunday in Chicago, 23 people were shot, 2 died, to include an 11-year-old boy. And it's a travesty what is happening in that city. Staying on the subject of Chicago for a moment, Chicago police, a team of thieves, have come up with an elaborate new plan to target the elderly in northern Chicago this month. Chicago Police Department said in a notice to residents on Tuesday, today. 2 of 3 suspects will approach a senior citizen and lure them out of their home by posing as water department employees, saying that there is damage to their home or their garage. Once the victim is outside, other burglars will enter the home and take purses, jewelry, and money. 4 residents have been this has happened to since December 15th in Chicago's 20th and 24th districts. One incident happened on Christmas Eve, and another happened the day after Christmas. The suspects were described as white and black males between the ages of 35 and 40. The Chicago Police Department recommends that residents install surveillance cameras, pay attention to suspicious people and cars, call 911 if they suspect anything, and reach out to their neighbors and community members. Chicago has also been dealing with a rash of smash and grab commercial burglaries in recent months. In Chicago's 20th district, where some of the burglaries targeted the elderly have occurred, at least 7 thefts have taken place at businesses in the last 2 months. Thefts are up 21% according to Chicago Police Department data. You know, I wouldn't even drive through Chicago if I was going somewhere where I would go out of my way to go around that city. And that's sad because I know that not all of Chicago is like this. I know it's just a metropolitan area, but there are things happening throughout the entire city that I don't want to be anywhere near. And I'm sure you don't either. And what a crying shame that Miss Lightfoot doesn't do anything about it. Furthermore, that the people of Chicago haven't voted her out of office. A Harlem man convicted of a manslaughter. You're going to love this. Convicted of manslaughter is likely to become the first convicted killer to enter the New York State Assembly. Although the official vote for the 68th District Assembly seat is not until January 18th, having the Democrat nomination has historically been the equivalent of a victory. On Saturday, convicted killer Eddie Gibbs secured that nomination during a meeting of Democrat Party members, according to the Patch. The seat, currently held by Robert Rodriguez, is open because Rodriguez has been appointed Secretary of State. In the 2020 election, Rodriguez, the Democrat, received 89% of the votes. Gibbs, who's 54, was convicted of manslaughter in 1988 after pleading guilty to killing Otis Frazier in Manhattan's Johnson House, according to the Daily News. In an unsuccessful 2010 campaign for the Assembly, Gibbs explained his side of the crime. I was defending myself in an altercation, and unfortunately, someone died, Gibbs said. Gibbs said that he shot Frazier after being stabbed in the leg. Gibbs served 5.5 years in prison. Prior to his manslaughter conviction, Gibbs had a conviction for selling crack and was involved in a domestic violence case. Since then, he has worked as a political consultant for the Democrat Party. What defines a person is not how he falls, but how he gets up, Gibbs said, according to the Daily News. In New York State, ex-convicts can run for office. In 2002, Gibbs was given a certificate of good conduct to remove most job barriers, although he still cannot own a gun. In a Facebook post, Gibbs held himself up as a good example. As a result, the remorse I showed under the circumstances, I was given a lenient sentence at the court. Until this day, I am very apologetic and disappointed by my actions and do not make any excuses for them, he wrote. I can also assure you that the 17-year-old boy who made those poor decisions, those 35 plus years ago, is not the man who stands before you today. My name on the ballot serves as an outcome for a fair criminal justice system and a commitment to redemption, he said. As a way to give back, my plan is to dedicate a large part of my campaign to educating my constituents and all former incarcerated individuals on local politics. In order served communities, there are often many myths that accompany their willingness or unwillingness to vote, and it's my goal to be a liaison between what is fact and what is fiction, he wrote. Gibbs will face opposition in January from Tamika Mapp, a businesswoman who did not get the Democrat nomination. A long-shot GOP candidate is also likely to be on the ballot. So here's the first thought that came to my mind. Senator Ted Kennedy killed Mary Jo Kopsche and was repeatedly reelected and served from November 7th, 1962 to August 25th of 2009. Look up Chappaquiddick, his name, Ted Kennedy. Read the story. Maybe you've seen the movie. Maybe you've seen the miniseries about it. Long story short, he was running for re-election. I believe it was 69. So he had already been there for about 7 years as a senator. He was at a party where there was lots of alcohol and drinking going on. And he left the party driving his vehicle with her, Mary Jo was like an aide to the campaign, and somehow went off this bridge into, I guess, a river or a creek below. The car turned upside down. He got out, came up on the land, walked back to the location where he had left, got with his buddies, told them what was going on. Some of them went back to the area and actually did try and look for her to see if she was in the car, maybe in an air pocket. Maybe she had survived and just couldn't get out of the car. And they weren't able to do that. Well, probably because they were highly intoxicated like he was. But we don't know. And why don't we know? Because being a Kennedy back then meant that you were like royalty. And the Kennedys controlled everything. Do a little bit of homework on the Kennedy dynasty. And they did not want him to be tested for alcohol. And look, here's another prime example of how probably intoxicated he was. They waited till the sun came up the next day to notify police. That's right. And it was only then when law enforcement showed up and they sent people into the water to hook the car up with a wrecker truck, cable going out into the water, and pulled that vehicle out. And inside was her dead body. So the movie, if you've never saw it, is really good. There's lots of stuff on the internet about it. And the guy continued to get reelected over and over and over again. Look, as a former Democrat, that's shameful, very shameful. What happened and how the Democrat Party continues to associate themselves with radicals. Just look at some of the nominees for Biden's positions. When we talk about radical, horrible statements, horrible Twitter posts that have been made, Facebook posts that have been made, just things that are unacceptable. And they don't care. And when they have 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the House and the Senate, they can do whatever the hell they want. There's nothing we can do about it until come midterms. And then come midterms, we better wake up and show up at the polls in massive amounts of people. Bring people with you. We have to vote them out. At a minimum, if we do not get the Senate at midterms, stick a fork in it, America. We're done. That's how their radical changes are going to. You think Obama's 8 years were bad? What's happening right now is sickening. We currently have, sadly, a guy in charge that I'm not even sure he knows he's in charge. He just recently told himself to go F himself when somebody said, "Let's go, Brandon." And he said, "Yeah, let's go, Brandon." Either he's doesn't know, they're keeping it from him, how that came to be, or he forgot. He has some type of a mental illness. I don't know what it is. All I can tell you is from watching his speeches, and hell, it's all over YouTube. It's all over the internet. You can go watch many of them, telling people that we need to go with all electric cars because you can take an electric car and go from California, from the West Coast to the East Coast on one tank of gas with an electric car. What? The whole purpose of an electric car is there's no gas, and there is no battery design yet that will take you that distance in an electric car. It doesn't exist. And, there's just many, I could go on and on and on of all the things that's come out of his mouth that just aren't true. Now, it's not like it's just him that did it. There's been plenty on both sides of the aisle, Republicans as well as Democrats, that have said things that are just not true. And they believe that their followers are just going to take their word for it and then sweep it under the rug. But in this case, I do firmly believe that for the first time in America's history, we have a man in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that has a severe mental issue. Probably dementia. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to diagnose the guy because I'm not in the medical field. But listening to those in the medical field, especially in mental health, that have commented on what's happening to Biden, just look it up. It's all over YouTube. It's all over the internet. You can see these doctors discussing it. Something is not right mentally with the man. And that's not making fun of anybody with any type of mental handicap. Trust me. I have a special needs son. I have a traumatic brain injury myself. And look, it happens. But he's not running the country. Somebody else is. I don't know who's running America. It's not Joe Biden. He doesn't even know. I really don't think he knows he's the president. His poll numbers are just the worst that probably of any president. There may have been some presidents that had worse poll numbers than this, but between him and Camilla, it's in the dirt, folks. It's horrible, and people are waking up. I hope they're seeing that our border's wide open. There's been nothing done to help secure it and help our border agents that are down there risking their lives. That America's watching the war that's happening against our members of law enforcement, painting a target on their back. Police officers are being shot and killed weekly now. Weekly. It used to be maybe once a month you heard of a police officer getting shot and killed. Prior to that, maybe just a few times a year. And now it's weekly. Police officers are being killed. And that's not to count how many hundreds weekly are being injured or having to go out on medical leave or medical retirement due to their injuries. And the Democrats don't care. Attacking our veterans, attacking our military, cutting the cost of living allowance, like I just mentioned in the beginning of the show. And then you have members of Congress, Democrat members of Congress, Ilhan Omar, for one, openly saying that the Black Hawk Down incident that happened in Somalia, you haven't seen that movie, go watch it, that the American forces were the real terrorists. That's a sitting member of Congress. So this party that I used to belong to proudly has changed. It's been hijacked by the far left, and it's been radicalized, and it's not getting better anytime soon. The best case scenario is that we show up in massive amounts and vote them out. And look, I don't care if the Republicans win back the House and the Senate in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I will be calling them out just as much as I call out Democrats, and I do on this show. And if you went and looked at all my 300 plus videos, you will find me calling out Republicans a lot, because of once they get in there, they stop doing things that help their constituents, and they're in there for their own personal gain and to make millions, every one of them. And that needs to stop. The only way, of course, to stop that would be if we put term limits on them. And I'm all for that. I don't think there's a reason in hell that they should continue to be allowed to stay and be reelected over and over and over again until they get to where they're like Nancy Pelosi and they don't even know what they're doing. Or in this case, Joe Biden, for that matter. He's been up there in Congress for many, many years before he became vice president. And now he resides at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. With, they have a room set up with a green screen where whatever he's talking about, they can project that behind him. And I don't think that's ever happened before. It's kind of funny, but yet, what's the deal? You don't want him wandering around the White House, or he can't wander around the White House, or he can't go to the Oval Office and do it like every other president before him did. It's a special room for broadcasting just for him to sit at a desk and have projected behind him what's not there. Literally, it's not. It's a green screen. So anyhow, folks, you have many places you can be tonight. you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am very, very appreciative. If you haven't done so, please go to douglasducote.com and check out our website. Please subscribe to this channel. Share it with your friends and family. Tell them about the show. Tell them about my videos. And I am forever grateful for the opportunity to continue to serve my country by doing what I do. And I sure am not doing it for money, because YouTube stopped monetizing my stuff a long time ago. I do it because I want American patriots to know the truth about what's happening out there. I want them to know factual information about the Democrats, liberals, Republicans, and conservatives. Doesn't matter to me. We send you to Washington, D.C. to work for we the people, and you're up there for your own personal agenda. I'm going to have something to say about it, as should you. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, our angel families, and our blue and gold star families in our country. And if you do not know what angel families are, or blue and gold star families, please check it out. Google it. Or don't use Google, use DuckDuckGo. Because angel families, blue and gold star families are literally being shit on by this administration. And they need our support. It is a travesty what these families are having to deal with this current administration. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. And I'll see you on Thursday for another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas and that you were safe. Maybe you had a few arguments with your family over who knows what. That happens to be a trend right now. But you survived it. We got through it, and we moved forward for bigger and better things. Hopefully, in the new year coming, that is going to make us happy and proud again. Midterms. Take care, everyone. God bless you.